Hey guys and gals, Nary here from Drake Wing Gaming. Happy New Year's Eve, everybody. Hope y'all are gonna have a wonderful day, having food, drink, hanging with friends, or just staying home and quietly enjoying some videos. Whatever you guys want to do, I'm here to entertain you. So let's go ahead and jump right back in. I've got some more content for Enter Furry World. Very happy to be playing this game. It's gotten a great response from you guys. The dev himself saw my video, and he is excited to work more on his game, and that's awesome. I can't believe I had that kind of effect. Anyway, y'all, let's go ahead and jump right back in, shall we? Please sit back and enjoy for the next 18 minutes of entertain you. Let's jump right in. Alarm Chan, you are up, and let's go. Alright. The dragon seemed to have been a little surprised by my arrival. He probably hadn't noticed that I was next door. He turned his gaze towards me and then smiled a little shyly. Oh, hello, Jesse. Hello, Jesse, if I remember correctly? I nodded with a small smile, too. I could see that he seemed embarrassed, so I tried to calm the atmosphere by looking as friendly as possible. Yeah, that's right. We're in the same group, right? The dragon nodded. He seemed shy and passive for a dragon, and a little nervous. Perhaps he wasn't used to the discussion. At the same time, I didn't remember him being very talkative in class. Yes, indeed. I recognize you. Say, I hope I'm not being too personal, but I've always wondered, what happened to your fur? I got a little nervous at that question, and scratched my cheek, looking embarrassed in turn. I thought about what had been told the other day. Well, I had a big loss of fur due to a hormonal change. I smiled, looking shy, hoping greatly that this lie would work. That was my chance to test it. The dragon noticed that he had asked me a somewhat tricky question, but he listened to my answer anyway. Once I answered, he rubbed the back of his head a bit, and in turn seemed embarrassed. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was that bad. Anyway, I hope nothing worse happened to you, and I'm sorry if I hit a nerve. Obviously, the scaly kid seemed to believe the lie I was advised. What a relief. That's nothing. You couldn't have known. I grinned more sincerely this time, and quite happy that the subterfuge seemed to work. At least this way I wouldn't have to worry about being asked too many questions. By the way, I don't think we ever really introduced ourselves. The dragon seemed a little more relieved that his question hadn't hurt me too much. Like the other students who had laughed at me when I arrived, he hadn't laughed as I recall. He smiled a little more, looking more and more comfortable as the discussion continued. Oh, indeed. Really? Why'd you name the dragon Drake? Don't name a dragon Drake. People call me Drake. Alright, I guess I'm in the game then. Oh, indeed. My name is Drake. Nice to meet you. Drake, what a funny name. It's like a... Oh, okay, so even the main character notices this. Okay. Drake, what a funny name. It's like if a dog was called Fido or Doggo. Although maybe in this world they don't know drakes. In my memory, they were a breed specific to role-playing games, after all. That's true. Ah, that'll be easy to remember. Nice to meet you, Drake. I smiled and held out my hand to shake. Then I began to wonder if they made that sign in this world, or if I looked completely ridiculous. Drake reached out his hand, or rather his paw, and shook mine in a natural way. It seems that this gesture is also common in this world, fortunately. Yeah, I know. It's pretty fun it's pretty fun as a name for a dragon. Where I come from, I also met a dragon with the same name as me. That was fun. His smile became more and more sincere as he seemed at ease now. Oh, the trumpets came out. Trumpets! The fact that he mentioned he was from another place wasn't really surprising, since he has a certain accent that others don't have. It sounded European to my ears. I don't know how to sound European, and I'm not even going to try. Ah, I see. I thought you had a funny accent, too. Oh, that's Jesse. Jesse talking. Oh, I see. I thought you had a funny accent, too. Not to mention his rather cute lisp, but I'll pass on. Ooh, I can do a lisp. Say, do you want to go eat together in the cafeteria? Oh, why not? I wouldn't mind having a little company for sure. He seemed quite happy to have met me. After we agreed, I left with Drake and headed for the cafeteria. So I can do a lisp, but my lisp is like really stereotypical sounding. Like, alright, we arrived at a table and sat down together. As usual, the students who had been brave enough to buy food on the spot seemed to be going through a test. Like they were surviving the ingestion of poison or something. That's scary. Unfortunately for him, Drake was one of them. Left to get some food, he came back to join me when he was done inside. Well, at least it doesn't cost too much. Although, I admit the taste is hard to get past. He looked at his plate for a moment, as if concentrating to gain courage to eat what made up his plate, then began to eat, making a small face with each piece. Are you going to be okay? Drake turned his head and looked at me for a bit, before smiling and staring at his food again. Well, it's only the taste. It's a bit hard to let it pass, but we get used to it. I couldn't help but notice that you bring your own food. It's certainly better than what they sell here. I thought about the sandwiches Rich made me every day and nodded. Probably so. Mind you, it doesn't look hard to beat. Ha! Drake smiled a little, then took a breath and ate a few pieces of what he has in his dish. You can call it food. The poor dragon seemed to make a funny face every time he swallowed. A little bit, but like I said, you get used to it. Say that to your face. I proceeded to eat my own meal consisting of a chicken sandwich. At least it tasted like it, and a granola bar. And I wonder if I could breathe if it could breathe fire. In fairy tales, dragons can do that, so maybe here too? However, I hesitated to ask the question, not wanting to sound stupid. Drake continued to force himself to eat his meal. He wiped his mouth occasionally and took his time well. Probably to get the taste of the previous bite out of his mouth before taking another bite. Oh, if they could breathe fire, that'd be a great way to get a taste out of your mouth. I felt a little bad watching him struggle so hard to eat. I looked down at my own meal, scratching my cheek. You want my granola bar? Drake looked at me for a moment before looking at my bar, then he smiled and shook his head. That's nice, but you paid for it. I don't want to make you feel sorry for me just because I'm eating this thing from the cafeteria. I chuckled and nodded my head a little. Okay, do you eat the food from here every day? Drake sighed a little. Almost. Every once in a while I do a little treat and buy food from a restaurant across the street. It's much better, but then again, you have to be able to afford it. Across the street, you say? I'll have to go try it. I'd recommend it. It's pretty good, and they make sandwiches in several sizes depending on how hungry you are. Ah, yes. I guess a rodent wouldn't eat the same amount as an elephant. I laughed a little, imagining the mouse eating a pachyderm-sized sandwich. Drake seemed to smile at the comparison. You're right, but then again, since we're average, you should fill your head with at most one large size. But there's bigger, though I doubt we'll be able to finish it. I can imagine you with a round belly. Ha! I chuckled as I touched his belly with a finger, as if testing whether it was plump or not, with a mocking smile. He didn't especially react while I touched him, but he didn't look plump at all. Quite the opposite. Drake chuckled too before sighing and eating a little more. If I really ate that much, I would explode. He continued to force himself to eat his meal. Fortunately, he was almost done, and this ordeal of getting enough nutrients to last the afternoon was almost over. Like, I love how effeminate he is. He got them short shorts on. He's showing off the chest and some of the shoulders. Yeah, it's cute. He continued to force himself to eat his meal. Fortunately, he was almost done, and this ordeal of getting enough nutrients to last the afternoon was almost over. After a little while of eating in silence, I decided to ask him a question. Oh, who should I ask him about? Tell me about Ritch. Tell me, what can you tell me about Ritch? You know, the Lombaroo in our class? Ritch? Yeah, I know him. I mean, by name. I know he's in the class. To be honest, I'm pretty shy about going around talking to other people. But from what I've seen, he doesn't seem like a bad guy. Why? Just like that. Just like that. I was wondering since I cut my sentence short. I was going to say I lived with him. You know, maybe I want to be friends with him. I scratched my cheek shyly. Drake seemed to think for a moment before deciding to answer. He seems friendly. If you go talk to him, I think you two might get along well. I mean, after that, I barely know him. I could be wrong. I nodded. It's true that Ritch seems like the ultimate nice guy. And you, would you like to get to know him? The dragon blinked and seemed to be thoughtful for a moment, playing with the food in his dish with his fork. I don't know. Even if it goes well at first, I'm afraid my shyness is preventing a good progression of our friendship. It was my turn to blink a few times. In Tales and Legends, dragons are fierce, dominant, and above all, proud. Well, we can be quite proud, that's for damn sure. We can be real fierce, y'all. To see one so shy was an unexpected contrast, but his look was both sad and cute. Who can say no to him? What should I do? Introduce him to Ritch. Poor Drake. I felt bad for him. Hesitated for a moment, then looked him in the eye with a determined look. It's decided. After school, we'll both go see Ritch so you can get to know each other. After hearing this, Drake stared at me with an unsettled look on his face. He seemed to hesitate for a moment. Are you sure? I mean, I'm willing to give it a try with you, but there's no guarantee that we'll become friends. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Everything will be fine, and then, if ever, I want to be your friend. I gave him a sincere smile. He looked at me for a moment before smiling back and slowly finishing his meal. He didn't answer, but my gestures seemed to have touched him a lot, seeing the movements of his tail. Finally, finished. Anyways, as for Ritch, you seem to know him pretty well, even though you've only been here recently. Well, he's pretty much drawing attention to himself, so... I scratched my cheek, a little embarrassed. hoping I hadn't made a blunder. Drake laughed lightly, scratching the back of his head a bit. To be honest, I saw him waving at you when you were offered a seat. Did you know him? Did you know him before you came? Well, he drove me to school that morning, so we talked a little bit together. But I don't know much about him, so I wanted to learn more. Would you like to know more? Drake smiled and nodded. Oh, okay, I see. Unfortunately, other than the fact that he's not a very well-known species, I don't know much about him. What is it again? A something? I chuckled as Drake had the same problem with the name of his species as I did at first. I think it's a Lombaroo. I remember it because of kangaroo. Drake chuckled again, putting his hand in front of his snout. Not wrong, an easy way to remember it. Lombaroo. I'd have to hold him back. Unfortunately, all things must come to an end, and the meal break eventually came to an end. We returned to class for the afternoon, but I kept in mind the conversation I had with Drake. Although he could tell me very little, at least I got to know a nice guy. Time passed as we were able to get out of the last class of the day. I joined Ritch as usual at the entrance to the school. I could see Drake in the distance. He was coming in our direction. Normal, considering we were in front of the only exit. I waved to him, and luckily he saw me and came over. When he noticed Ritch, he seemed shy, but at least he wasn't running away. Hi, Jesse. You wanted to see me? He gave a polite little nod to Ritch, who did the same. Yes, I wanted to formally introduce you to Ritch, like I told you. Well, introduce him? Yes, we both talked earlier today, and I told him I was going to introduce you both. Drake seemed shy and played with his fingers to pass the time, while Ritch examined him from head to toe. His expression wasn't quite what I thought it would be. Curiosity, then sadness. Had I said something wrong? Ritch, are you okay? You seem... I'm fine, I just, have to go. I was so surprised that I stood there with my mouth open and watched the Lombaroo take off. When the shock of the moment was over, I looked in Drake's direction. As expected, he was devastated. Thanks for trying. He left as well, with his head down and a big sigh. That is bizarre. I watched him walk away for a little while, then ran back to Ritch. Understanding what had happened, I tried to ask him questions, but the only answers I got were little grunts of frustration. Once we arrived, Ritch locked himself in his room without another word. I really wondered what was suddenly happening to him. I looked curiously in the direction of his bedroom door. Maybe I should leave him alone, but at the same time, I wanted to know what was going on. Go see why Ritch is acting so strangely, yeah. Curiosity got the better of me, and I approached his room. I heard some noises and quietly opened the door, peering inside without a word. Oh! The sight before me made my blood run cold. Ritch was sitting on his bed, sobbing silently, big tears running down his cheeks, soaking his fur until they disgusted on his covers. He whispered something, and I had to concentrate to understand what he was saying. Why? Why him of all other students? Why? I guess that this was definitely not the time to disturb him. I closed the door as quietly as I had opened it so as to not disturb him. Whatever had happened between those two, it must have been serious. I didn't have the heart to disturb him. Ritch finally came out several minutes later, wearing his best smile. Well, that's not all, but I'm hungry. Let's go eat. Which made me ask, what is he hiding behind that friendly look? His strange attitude made me wonder about many things, but I decided to keep silent about it. Since he didn't seem ready to talk to me about it, who was I to push him? The rest of the evening passed by without a hitch. Lombaroo told me a few stories about camping when he was young, twisted, funny ones, his first love from elementary school. I must say, he made me laugh a few times. When evening came, we each went to bed in our own rooms. So we ended this 4th day in this world. Oh, God. Aww. It's the end of the current update. Aw, man. Wait, this is a Lupin reference? This looks like a Lupin reference. Aw. Let me save it right here. There we go. Okay. So, ended the 4th day in this world. Okay. Anything else? Any constructive comments are very welcome. Oh, okay. Alright. Okay, guys, I guess that is all that she wrote for, this game currently. I'm going to wait until it gets updated before I start playing it again or doing any of the other routes, because I would like to see these, characters, some of the dragons. I would like to see what they look like fully colored and shaded and such. But anyway, y'all, go give the creators some love. They do some hard work. This is great so far. Anyway, guys and gals, don't forget to like, comment. Anyway, guys and gals, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Leave a super thanks or a tip if you can. It always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!